Hi, welcome to this presentation on the AcePos Touchscreen Basic Version System. Now, this is actually a single POS terminal system meant to issue just sales bill, manage some inventory balance, and issue invoice. It can run on any of these machines. Now, we actually have both on-premise system as well as cloud-based. So let's go into the system first. Enter the user password. The one with the biggest authority is called admin. You can create multiple users with different passwords for cashiers and so on. Once you're in, system will pick up the latest date from the system, and then you'll come to the main menu. Now, in main menu are divided into four main sections. Maintenance, where you can set up all the various things that you use in the system. For example, what type of credit card you accept, e-wallet you accept, how do you analyze your stock items, what are the stock codes that you sell, what sort of additional barcodes. You can actually use barcodes to indicate items. You can have a range of stock deletion or change range of selling price and so on, or you can set up condiments. How do you cook your certain type of products? And you also can have create codes for suppliers. Now, next one is posting. You can actually issue bills through a post operation system. You can update bills because the bills can be issued and immediately updated, or you can be updated on a batch basis. That's why you have an update bill option here. Or once a month, you have to submit your e-invoices, the consolidated e-invoices for those that where the customers did not request for individual e-invoice. Then you can have for certain items that you may control the stock, you can have stock purchases or stock returns. You can post from here. Then you have various reports, daily sales, post transaction, and so on. We'll be going through all these reports later on. And then there is a setup section. So this is the main menu. Okay, let's go into the individual options available. The first one is under maintenance. You can create credit cards. Now, what sort of payment do you accept in your this F&B business? So you can create all types of credit card and e-wallet. Inside here, you have credit card. For example, I have some examples here already. So let's say MasterCard, create MasterCard is a MasterCard. So you create a code for MasterCard. This is a payment type. So if you're having e-wallet, you can put under e-wallet. For example, you accept Boost e-wallet or you accept Touch and Go. You can create this type of payment. So from in this option, you create all sorts of payment types to accept in your F&B business. The next one is analysis type. That means that for every stock item that you sell in this F&B business, you can actually analyze the sales by different. For example, there are three things: department, product category, and group. Now, group in this case, we use it to control kitchen or bar printers. That means you can assign the printers to automatically print out the orders. So department, you can have, for example, you see beverage, food, juices, what different types of product that you sell, you can classify. Now, how you create this department is how the system will analyze your sales for you. So you've got to think carefully how you want to analyze your sales, and you create the department accordingly. Now, below department, we have product category. For example, here you may have different type of beers or different type of food, for example, Indian food, Chinese food, or Malay food, and then juices and so on. So you have category. And the third one is groups. Now here in groups, we use to control the kitchen and bar printers. That means in this system, you can actually put network cable and join the main system to a kitchen or bar printer somewhere. So whenever an order comes in, they automatically print the orders out with the kitchen or bar printer, and then the waiters will know where to serve the product that the customers order. Now next we go into the maintenance of stock item. You have used password to control the cost. You don't want everybody to see your cost. Inside here you can create all sorts of code. Now everything that you sell in your shop, you have to put a code in there, and this code have to be later on assigned to a touch key, because this is a touch key system. That means you're using a touch screen. So inside here you see you can create, for example, I'm selling espresso. So espresso, I belong to, for example, department beverage, and then it falls under coffee, because under beverage I may have different categories, for example, beer or juices or water and so on, you see. And then the group, I'm using it to control the kitchen or bar printer. That means whenever an order of espresso come in, please print it at the printer called the bar. So you can set what is your cost and what's your selling price, and then whether this item is taxable or chargeable for service charge or not, or sales tax. Okay, and then you can whether you allow discount or not. And then Also, what is a minimum sales value you can also set. For example, this may be 750, but you can say, hey, the minimum I can sell is say 650. You can actually do this so that whenever somebody has the authority to change the price, it cannot go below this particular selling price. Now you can also have condiment menu. Condiments menu is something like how do you cook this product. That means when you order this item, how do you want this product to cook. For example, in this espresso, of course, it doesn't belong to any condiment, that's why it's a blank. So you can have different type of condiments in order to use to assign it to different items, and then you save. So under the maintenance stock item, this is where you create all the individual items. So for example, I may have say an item of food. Let's look at an item of food. These are beverage. So see, for example, fried vegetables. See, this will be assigned to kitchen printer. So when you order veg fried bread, it goes to the kitchen printer itself. And because this is a printing, you may have condiments. That means that you can have, say, different type of condiments, meaning how do you select this to be cooked? Maybe more chili, less chili, and so on. You can create a different condiment under here. There is a condiment menu here, you see. Button here, you can see this. That's a condiment menu. Now, next one, we have additional barcode. Now, how do you make use of additional barcode? For example, some of the items itself, for example, beer, for example. If you're selling beer, now the beer will be controlled maybe in drums. Okay, so it comes in drums. So when you sell, you may sell it by glass. You may sell it with a jug. So a jug is equal to 4 glass. So you can use different codes inside here to create a jug and so on. See, you can create something like, for example, let's say it's beer. Right, let's say it's beer, for example. You can say this is glass draft beer, but you can say that you, for example, this description, you can put an additional for draft beer. Let's say I put an additional barcode of, let's say, 108J, for example. Let's see if I create an enter code. An alternate creation will be like, this is a beer, but it is jug. So one jug is equal to 4. So what is the quantity? Is equal to 4 glass. Okay, so you can say 4, or you can say quantity is for example, unit description. You can call it jug. Okay, and what's the selling price? So maybe your beer, for because of a jug, you're selling for 30 ringgit, for example. Okay, so you save. So now this, when you ever sell this particular product 108J, which is year back, you will know how to go back and minus from here 4 glasses. That's how you can create so different type of product under this additional barcode. Next option, delete stock range. This is when you find that certain stock creation that you've created earlier, you don't want them. For example, just an example, okay, say maybe this particular codes you don't want them, you can actually, instead of deleting one by one, you can do this, proceed and select range and delete, so to make your work faster. That's all this option is about. And then you can change stock setting for a right range. For example, certain type of stock, let's say all types of food. Okay, for all sorts of beverage, for example, you want to change, for example, inside here, okay, you can choose by category, you can choose by product group, or maybe all bar items, or your stock code also you can choose. Maybe you say, hey, from now on, the service charge, there is service charge for beverages. Yeah, how much is it? What's the percentage and so on? See, you can change, or you can change the E-class. For example, for e-invoicing, you need to put an E-class for product. So you maybe can set this, hey, all of them we are changing E-class to what? Then you can choose, oh, maybe this is 022, for example. You know what I mean? You can do this, see? So that means all product under beverage you change to E-class. So this is for changing, fast changing of settings for all product. So let's say if I change for all department, I belong to all 022, you can do this, and then the system will change all the setting to 022 class. The next one is condiment. As I mentioned earlier, you can actually set different condiments. So condiments is like how do you cook certain products. So you can create any number. For example, here I've created, say, Western. So what do I have? Western, oh, no tomato, more tomato, sauce put aside. So you see, these are various type of things. You can create as many as you want. Each one can name them under one sort of menu. And then you can assign, earlier you saw, right, the menu, I can assign this to individual item. So when I assign to individual item, that means these choices become available for the item when I order that item, when the customer does order. So this is how you create the condiment menu. Okay, next let's go into the post-operation section. This is where you issue bills to the customer. Cashier logs in the name, enter their password, touchscreen, right, using the touchscreen, and then what is the cash float they put into a cash drawer. Let's say it's 200 ringgit, and then the printer will print out a slip showing what time it was activated and so on. and this slip has to be kept. When they deactivate, these two are supposed to be stapled together so we know what time they start the operation and what time they end. And then there's table layout. Now this table can be tailored like this. You can put them any position, or it can be just in square boxes. So let's say you change it to tailor this way. So this is table 1, how many guests, what is the thing that they order. So this is touchscreen, so they order 1 espresso, maybe juice, they got 2 mango juice, you can put 2 mango juice. And then maybe they had a beer, Carlsberg, big bottle. And then they took some western food, they had chicken pie, maybe 2 chicken wings, okay. And then you can hold, if you are holding the bill, for example, you can hold. So the kitchen, in this case, this is kitchen, dining, for example, kitchen, all this goes to kitchen. We'll print out the kitchen slip at the printer there so that the kitchen know how to prepare and which table to serve. And then you also have your drinks, so this is your bar printer, print out the drinks that you're supposed to prepare and where to serve. Okay, so you can be different category. For example, this would be a summary of things that you order by the customer. When you place on the table, as you deliver, you can cross them out. This is like a table order printed out. You can switch this off, you can switch it on. And finally, it has got a hold and print. Because I say hold and print, you can print a bill. If you just hold, you will not print. So let's do another order. For example, table 3, 3 guests, and then you have 12 drinks. So let's say 1 grape, 1 Pepsi, and then 1 Carlsberg, and then maybe this one ordered 1 fresh vegetable, 1 fried noodle, and then you hold. So hold, kitchen printer comes out. Okay, then your bar printer comes out, and that's it. No bill printer because I said hold. So then the table summary for delivery purposes to cross out, right? This can be set on and is printed. So to close the bill, simple, call the table out, okay, and then go for settlement. How much you pay? They can pay by cards, they can pay by cash. So let's say they pay by cash, give you 100 ringgit, just press 100 ringgit. The bill will be printed showing the settlement. If there's any SST, it's all calculated inside the bill, and then close. And then you can reprint the bill if you want to, but a reprinted bill, you have to put in a password to see whether you're authorized to reprint. If it does, the reprinted bill will show that this is a reprinted bill, so that you know that this is not an original bill. No, that's settled. So now the color of the table changed. It's settled. Now let's say the table ordered extra thing. Just click on it. Let's say they want some more. They want to order a set meal. For example, it's a set lunch. Okay. Then inside set lunch, the system will come out whatever set lunch is, and then you hold again. Now the order will just come out set lunch in the kitchen printer. Table order additional printed up. So settlement bill same. Let's say this one goes for settlement. Now if you were to present the bill first, for example, right before settlement, you have to present. Let's say they're sitting somewhere. You can actually do this. Let me go backwards again. Then you can say just hold and print, right? So the bill will be printed out, you see, a temporary bill for them to show how much to pay. Okay, presented to the customer. It's called an order bill. Later on when it comes back, walk to the cashier to pay, then we settle. Then you say, so let's say this is paid by MasterCard, how much is the amount, and then what is your card number. Now you can also link this system directly to a credit card device, depending on what sort of credit card device you have, because depending on which bank is supplying the credit card machine, there has to be some sort of interfacing software to link, but our software can link, okay, to the credit card machine directly. And then the bill will be printed. Now let's say the customer wanted a e-invoice. This is where he says I want an invoice, for example, just now. So we go to function, okay, and then we ask for e-invoice. So you have to press request for invoice. You have to know what is the bill number. Just now, for example, the last bill was 91, sorry. And then you say selected bill. Okay, the system will now pre-print the bill with a QR code for them to scan. So customer will have to scan this QR code on their handphone, smartphone device, and then this will bring them to a website which we have prepared for them to enter the details such as their tax number, their NRIC, and so on. We need details in order to submit the e-invoice for them. So once the request for e-invoice, that means this particular invoice become an individual e-invoice for the customer. Okay, and you will not be included into the monthly consolidated invoice. So every month, at the end of the month, before the 7th of next month, the system will actually consolidate all those invoices that has never requested for individual invoice into one single consolidated invoice and submit to the tax department. So for individual customer who request, they will have to scan this code and enter their own details in the website. So the customer scan the QR code on the invoice, goes in and fill up all the necessary particulars for the submission of the invoice. Since they have requested invoice, like for example, whether it's a company or your individual, which you key in the NRIC, then your name, addresses, contact numbers, and so on. Fill up the whole form as per whatever is requested on the screen once it's scanned, and then click on submit. Now, after 24 hours, if the e-invoice has been successfully submitted, they will see this screen. You ask them to download. When they scan the same QR code on their original invoice given to them, then they can see their e-invoice. And on the e-invoice, if you scan that code, QR code, you will actually get the e-invoice submitted to LRGDN. Now, let's say there's a table 3, 2 customers order beer and so on, and then it was held. Okay, so they ordered the drinks, came out bar printer and so on. Then later on, they say certain item they want to cancel. You can do this. You can click this. You can say delete the item. Of course, it will ask you whether this cashier has the power to delete the item or not. So you have to enter a password. If it's valid, then you can delete the item. Or you can even cancel the whole bill if the item is entered wrongly. Again, basically whether this person, the cashier, has the power to delete bills or not. So this is the inside there. So hold, see, the bar order will come out, oh, this item has been cancelled, to inform the bar, right? Of course, if the item is already prepared, then this cannot be undo because the preparation is already done. Now, under functions, there are a lot of other things. For example, you want to know what is the present cash balance. You have all these additional functions inside there. They can see, oh, currently how much cash you have inside your till. Okay, then you can check item price. Okay, for example, what sort of item price, how much you sell. You can actually do a plot. Okay, espresso, double espresso, what's the selling price? These functions are all under function. You can split the bill. For example, the table comes in, everybody sit together. The cashier didn't know, he put all the bill together. Then suddenly one person say, hey, I want to separate my bill. You can use this split bill function. Okay, you allow you see whether the cashier has the power to split the bill. If yes, then which table, what is the item you split? So this one has only one item, so there's nothing to split, right? Because only one item. Then you can have combined table. For example, 2 tables, separate friends suddenly come in, hey, I'm going to combine the bill together with mine, let me pay for him. Then you can combine the tables. Or you can reprint bills. Okay, you can reprint the bill with a full tax invoice. It's a bigger invoice, that is one. Or you can cancel a bill. Okay, a bill has been settled, you can cancel a bill if you want to. Or just now I showed you request for invoice, or you can print the invoice. If the invoice is already successful, you can print the invoice itself for the customer. Then you can change bill details or even open cash drawer. These are the additional function inside the post operation itself. Now, when you order things, it can be dine in, it can be takeaway, right? Depending on what they order. Depending on the guest, what they order, whether they take away. So it's indicated here. See, if it's takeaway, it's takeaway. If it's a dine in, it's dine in. So if it's takeaway, that means there's no service charge for the product. If you are charging service charge, for example. Okay, so let's do a one. You can just use any table because it's takeaway. Let's say order 2 and 1 say chicken pie, and then you settle straight away. Usually takeaway is up to you. Say 50 only, and then bar kitchen order is printed, bar image is printed, then the order table is printed, and the bill is straight away printed as well. So since it's a takeaway, it's indicated here. You can see the bill says takeaway. So takeaway will have no service charge. So let's settle this last table. Settle the payment. Let's say pay 20 ringgit. Then the bill is printed. Settle. Now, at the end of the session, When you exit the post, if the cashier is a power or need the manager keys in password, then a summary of the day's sales will be printed out. So this is where the cashier will have to reconcile the actual cash in hand, and then with credit cards or whatever, how much and all that. This is the summary. So this is a system deactivation slip. You can see the number is here, number 74 for example. So this has to be attached together with the activation slip just now to indicate what time they start, what time they end for this particular cashier session. And all this money, they will have to count and see and make sure it tallies up. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, this system can set to update bill immediately. That means every time you sell something, it minus a stock. If you have things that you are controlling stock lah. If you don't have things controlling stock, then you still update the bill to get into the actual sales. Now, let's say you're running this on a batch basis, then you will need this option called update sales bill for today. But if you set online, you don't have to. The system will auto update for you. So this is what the option is for. Okay, no bill because mine is set to online. Now, if you're having items that control stock, then you can do stock purchases. For example, canned drinks. These are things you can control stock, right? So for every item, you can set whether to control stock or not. So you can enter the cost. You can print a journal of all your posting if you want to. Enter. So this is where you enter who is the supplier, on what date, which supplier supply for you, what is the bill number, and what is the product that you bought. For example, all this you do not control. So maybe you have canned drinks, for example, cows per can. So this is where you can control stock, right? So maybe you bring in, say, 100 cans, how much is your cost, and so on. So this is like posting. Okay, big small bottle, maybe you brought in these 50 bottles. So once you post this, system will add to your stock quantity. So this is for stock purchases. Now if you're returning some stock to your supplier, maybe it's damaged or whatever, then you use purchase. Return is just the opposite. The system will minus from the system itself. Then you can print a journal. Alright, of course journal require a big printer. You need an 80 column printer to print your journal. Now stock take is if you are doing stock take for items, okay, that means that you're doing an actual stock take, then it's just physical. What is your stock product code? For example, if you're doing stock take, system will tell you you have to put in, now you have 196, you can see a balance here. So maybe you counted and found that it's 195, you're short by 1. System will actually adjust the balance for you, you see. Let's say for example, I go back now inside, right? House per can, you can see, right? Become 195 because I did a stock take. So this stock take is for you to do stock adjustment. Now e-invoice, consolidated e-invoice has to be done once a month for those invoices, the total of all invoices that were never submitted as individual invoice. You only submit as individual invoice when the customer asks for it. So that those invoices will be individually submitted, and the customer, of course, like just now I mentioned, you have to go and scan the QR code and then enter their tax detail and so on. So the rest will come inside here under e-consolidation. So which is the one you select. For example, the system will allow you to select which month. For example, let's say it's May or whatever. The system will automatically consolidate all the invoices for that month of May and then submit it to the tax department for you. So this will be done once a month. Now if you forget, of the moment you come to the first, when the month end is already ended, on the first of the new month, system will remind you that you have not done your consolidation yet. He will keep reminding you on the second, third, fourth until fifth. If you still don't do your consolidation, he will ask you for the administrator password, just to make sure that you have the authority to keep skipping the submission of the consolidated invoice. Okay, next let's go quickly to the reports. Under the report section, you have first daily sales. What is the daily sales by payment or by product? For example, I would like to have product for today's sales. You can see under what sort of printer. We need a big printer in this case. You can see they will show you all the individual sales product by product. It defaults into department, as I mentioned earlier, depending on how you set a department. For example, here I set is beverage and food. System will list out the products that is sold under Department of Beverage, what are the items sold, how many you sold, what is the total, what's the sales percentage contribution, and so on. This is a sales report, sales analysis report. Okay, then we have post-transaction report. Now, if you don't know the password, you cannot see the cost. If you know the password, you can see the cost. Now, this report will list out all the individual items, so details of every single bill. So basically this is more for audit purposes. You can check individual bill, what was being sold, how did they pay, and so on. Every information bill by bill, bill 90, bill 91, 92, and so on. You see, goes on. So this is a very detailed report. So usually you use this for audit purposes. Then we have peak hour sales to show you on what day you can choose. You tell you what time does the customer come in, Monday, Sunday, so on. What is the time that you came in, so that you know roughly from this report, peak hour sales, what are the hours that is peak where customers usually come in. So usually they will use promotion on those time when you find less customer coming in, right? So to attract them to come during those kind of like non-busy period lah. And it also give you additional information, how many guests came in, how many bills within this period based on the range of date you selected, how many items were sold, what's the average spending of the customer per bill. So these are very useful information for you to know what sort of customers are you catering for. Okay, next we have payment analysis. They analyze for you what is your collection. You can of course again specify the date. For example, let's say I want the month of November. Where's the cash, how much cash, e-wallet collected, or all. Okay, and you preview the report, and the report will show you category by category how much cash was collected, how much was charged MasterCard, and so on. So this is for reconciliation of cash and credit card charges. You can choose by all this report. You can choose by range of date. Inside here you can change by date, range of date. Then we have cashier's collection. Which cashier was responsible, detail or summary. The summary is a very small one, detail is very detailed. So you can again choose which period of date. You can see which cashier was in charge on what day. So you can assign back, you can sync back what cash was collected by who, which person, which cashier on what day. So this is more for counter checking purposes. That's a cashier's collection report. Then of course most important is a management sales report. Okay, if you know your course password, you enter a course password. You can choose, they have one level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what is the level 1? You can again choose by range of date, by bill number, or by range of date. All this report you can choose range of date. Let's say I want to know for the month of November, how much sales did I did? Okay, and I go to level 1 first. So I do a preview. Okay, if I use a wider printer, you see, it shows you by, since I choose level 1, level 1 is purely by department. That means beverage department, how much is my total sales, and food, how much is my total sale, what's the contribution here, and then service charge. Okay, that's level 1. Level 2, system goes drill one step lower. See, it tells you under beverage, you have beer, beverage, coffee, beverage juice, it break down further. Tells you the quantity sold, gross sales, discount, net sales, cost, because I enter the cost password, I know my profit even, and percentage contribution. Okay, so these are very important report. Then if I go to level 3, it's actually separating by kitchen and bar, which you don't use up because you're using kitchen and bar here, right? It's purely to control. So basically, level 4 is very detailed. You can see it goes item by item. Under beverage, beer category, which bring to the bar, this particular product, Carlsberg can, how many have you sold, Carlsberg big bottle, and so on. You see how many have sold, how many percent coming. So it goes very, very detailed. Sales report. Level 5, by day, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, so on. Okay, this is analyzing your sales by days of the week, based again on the range of date you collect. Now 6 is not in use at the moment because this is more like for tax purposes, because the GST has been abolished last time we used that, but you can see your SST charges. Okay, you can use this to analyze the SST charges on days by days itself against the sales. So management report is actually the most important report under this particular system because it tells you a lot of information about your next report, cancel return bill. This is an important report to track who cancel what item on what range of date. Again, you can select, you see, so that we know, you see, because cancellation means there's a reduction in cash collected or card collected. So this thing needs to be controlled in your business. You do not simply allow anybody to just cancel any item. So this one will list out who canceled what item, authorized by whom, who was the cashier at that time, on what date, and then what was the bill number, what is the item being cancelled. So this is for checking against all cancellation that was done. Same thing with discount, who gave discount, if you did any discount, detail. okay, system will request if there's any discount. No matching record. Let's say if I do all and see whether I have any record with discount. You see, on this day, on the watch bill number, how many percent was given as discount. So you know who authorized the discount. Of course, the person who's authorized the discount, you can set the limit. There is a setting for you to limit. Maybe cashier A can only give up to 5%, cashier B can give up to 10%, and so a manager can give up to say 50%. Okay, these are different level of discount you can actually set in the system itself to control this. So now you have also a service tax report. Okay, this is a listing of all service tax that's been charged to the customer based on which bill is individual allowed. Now we also have an e-invoice submission report. That means if you have submitted your e-invoice, for example, the system will be able to tell you on what date, what is the invoice. Like just now the customer request for it is still pending submission. As long as the customer has not entered their details, the system will be pending submission. If it's submitted and successfully, then it will tell you on what date it was requested and what date it was successfully submitted. So this e-invoice submission report tells you the submission status of individual invoice or even the consolidated e-invoice. Now next we have all the reports related to stock. First is a stock index report. If you know your password for your course, you can see this is a listing of all the items that you have created that you sell at your shop. That's all. It's just a listing of all of them with their unit cost and their selling price and also the balance quantity. At this moment in time, for item that you are controlling quantity, like if you're not controlling quantity, you don't have. For example, you see all these espresso, double espresso, these are coffee that you make on your own. So we have set it not to control stock. You can see here control stock, this column. No, 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 no. Those that you can control, you can set it to yes. For example, Coke can, for example, right? Coke can, Sprite can, all these can control. Then you can see the second line here, 91, 105, 148. These are the balance stock. You can see here unit cost, below is balance quantity. So you can, this is a stock index report. Now you also have analysis type. That means how do you actually what kind of department you have created. You can analyze this different type of department and so on. Okay, or you can different type of category. Okay, you can list out all this. How do you set up your system in case you forgot what you said. Okay, these are analysis type. Then stock balance, actually if you enter your course password, you actually tell you the stock balance. You can again choose by what department. Maybe you only want certain department, okay, or you can choose all. You can even choose certain stock code you want to check, okay, otherwise you choose all. You can review. You can see the stock balance. What is the quantity balance for every single individual item for those that you are set as controlling stock lah. So you notice here the coffee don't comes out because that's not controlling stock, but all these can and beer and all that is coming out with the stock balance, quantity and value. Then we have your stock sales analysis. If you just want the analysis of stock by individual item, you can choose for which month, because it can be many months, right? Let's say they're choosing for this month, for example. Then what is your sales analysis? You tell you, see, for this particular item, how many have you sold, how many quantity have you sold. MTD is month to date, year to date. That means this month and this year, this month, this year. For example, double espresso is 0, means this month you didn't sell any, but then this year you sold 3. And then what is your sales value? What's your cost? Because I entered the cost password, so then I know your profit and the percentage contribution of profit. Okay, so this is a very detailed sales analysis report. And then for audit, if you want to audit back whether your stock update is correct, you can choose. Again, of course, all can have period to choose. And then what type of transaction that is updated in the stock side. You can view your transactions, okay, for individual stock item. You see, all the stock that is updated, you minus up. It will show you. So for those, even though it says espresso, for example, it's not controlling stock. Of course, there's no stock controller, but you still update the sales transaction for you to check. They become transaction, you see. So for all these like Carlsberg and so on that you sell for quantity, you will minus up the stock. This is a listing of all the stock updates. So these are the reports related to stock, and then you even have a stock ledger. Ledger is like which month you want to show which product. For example, I just want to show one product. Let's say it's say Carlsberg can, for example. Okay, up to so 101. You can see, okay, you can preview this report. Then you show you what is the opening balance of this particular item that I chosen, and then what is the sale, how do you minus, what purchase came in, Remember earlier we posted purchase, and then I did the stock tick. Okay, so you minus off the stock tick, become 195. And the last one is a list of suppliers that you set inside here. This is just a listing of the suppliers that you've created inside the system. Okay, the last section is called others. We have got sorting. In case you think that the data may have some corruption, you can do a sort. Sorting will do, you will rearrange the system, make sure everything is running fine. Okay, that's what it does. Okay, so then we have sets of rules for system setup. Now this part usually our support will set up for you, or the system you can do all sorts of setting, what kind of setting you have, what kind of report setting, where the cost price will show, what is the password, and so on. Okay, and then whether you auto report. Now this system can actually, upon exit system, can actually send an automatic email of the day sales to your owners or the top managers. Okay, this is a very important point. That means you don't have to come in and say check the system. You can make the system at certain time, up to a maximum of 3 times a day, schedule, send out the sales report up to that time to the manager or to the boss. You can set inside here to be automated. And then we have got some function to export some data to Excel format, acceptable format. You can have special things to lock the screen and so on. So these are the other things that is available, other options available inside the F&B system.